What's a good structure for a presentation? Using your value proposition is a pretty good idea. Chapter your presentation up into benefit sections, and then structure your content around those sections with the relevant proof points needed to demonstrate that you can clearly deliver on those promises. Then create a slide that summarizes the benefits. Something clear and simple is needed here. It can be bullet points and ideally should stand out and be different from the other slides in your deck. Use this value proposition slide at the start, at the end of your short introduction, and repeat it every time you move from one section to another. This helps guide the audience, showing them where they are in the story and how each section relates to the whole. And by repeating these slides frequently, if only briefly, your audience is almost forced to remember what's in it for them, which is really powerful. What's interesting about that approach is that it allows you to talk about how you do something, a subject that's often very important as you need to convey the details of your story, but it means that it's not just about the cogs and wheels, as you keep coming back to the high-level message to show how each of these individual detailed elements fits into the whole machine, allowing you to highlight the benefits of working with you for the audience, so that they can relate how you do things to why they should care and why they should select you rather than the competition. Rather than too much focus on how you deliver, ideally everything should be framed in terms of the value that you help your audience to achieve, and so why they should engage with you. Overall, this means that presentations should be structured around content that's relevant to your audience, with very little focusing on the presenter, unless it helps the audience understand the value that they will realize. So if you plot the components of an effective presentation structure on this axis with audience-focused elements above the line, you start with context setting, which gives a general overview to help the audience understand how the presentation fits into their wider world, which helps them to understand the relevance and implication of your messages. It's also important to set the situation with a more focused view of what issues and problems the audience may face, some of which they may know and others they may not, and the potential implications of those problems. Next, it's often sensible to showcase the solution within the context you've outlined, helping the audience to understand where your solution fits, not in too much detail, but just high-level positioning. Quickly get back to the audience focus by sharing why the topic of the presentation is important and how the solution adds value and solves the issues raised earlier, before moving into more detailed content that switches between details of your solution and how that helps the audience achieve the value that you promised them. It's critically important to relate details of the solution back to benefits and key messages. Finally, close the presentation by summarizing the key messages and soliciting next steps and actions. As you can see, the majority of the content sits above the line. Make your presentation about your audience and it becomes much more impactful.